Okay. So before moving into this single random variables, you had went through all your basics. That is the basics of the first module, you can say, that has been already covered, and try to recall that for my division. What I had done was for B division. I had went through this online book. We had went through this online book, if you guys remember. So you can go through this online book, that is probabilitycourse.com. It is a textbook which is in the form of an website. You can go through this. Okay. So let us start now. Before moving into what is single random variables, we'll try to understand what is a random variable. Okay. So friends, I'll go a bit fast because I need to cover a lot of things in just 2 or 3 classes, because we have very less time. Okay. So what is a random variable? See, the best example for a random variable is, say, for example, you toss a coin. You toss a coin, and say you will get when you toss a coin, there are 2 possibilities. One is either you would get a head or you would get a tail. So that thing, when we say either we are getting a head or we are getting a tail, that is nothing but your random variable. It is called as a random variable. Okay. Like to give you more precise, like say for example, the best example in this book which he has given is, say there is a soccer game going on, that is football game going on, and say we are interested in the number of goals. Okay. But if we consider this entire soccer match, that is football match, as a random experiment, we'll take that whole football match as a random experiment, the complete football match as a random experiment, and in that, how many goals are happening, that is nothing but your random variable. Okay. Now the best example he has given here is, say you have a coin and you toss it 5 times, and you toss it 5 times, and let us say this is a random experiment. Yeah, is it a random experiment or no? Yes, it is a random experiment, because we don't know, when you toss a coin 5 times, we don't know what will be the outcome, whether it will be head or tail. Like say for example, the first outcome, when you toss all the 5 coins, all are tails. This could be an outcome. The next outcome could be what now? There could be 4 tails and 1 head. The next outcome could be what now? There could be all heads, in such way. So that means you could get such how many outcomes? The number of times you are tossing the coin. So which is nothing but 2 raised to 5. So therefore, if you see the sample space, see what is sample space? Sample space is nothing but it is the space which would contain all the possibilities of your experiment. Whatever the experiment you conduct, it will contain all the possibilities of it. Like say here in this sample space, you can see you can see all the possibilities. Then how many possibilities, how many elements will be there? It is 2 raised to 5. So therefore there will be what now? 32 elements. So a random variable is nothing but it is a function from the sample space to the real numbers. See here, friends, please observe this equation here. X is a what now? Random variable. This 2 colons tells us that X is conditioned on. This the meaning of 2 colons is X is conditioned on, and S is nothing but the sample space, and this X is being mapped into your real numbers. This is nothing but a random variable. See here, friends, very interesting. S is a sample space, and the values of S are being mapped into what now? They are being mapped into your R, which is a random real numbers. Okay. And inside sample space, what you have? You have a random variable. And what is this random variable? It could be head, tail, one among them. Okay. So this is the meaning of your random variable. Now, what is single random variable? A single random variable is nothing but there will be only one random variable. You will not be having more than one random variable. That is the simple thing. There are in the upcoming classes in your module number 2, you will be having multiple random variables. That is another concept. We'll move it later to that. Okay. So for now, I hope so. The random variables concept is clear. Okay. So from where you will get the random variable? He has explained here, from a random experiment, right? And these random variables are present where? They are present inside the sample space. Okay. So this is what he has explained in this first paragraph. Okay. Now, say for example, we have 2 sample spaces. We have 2 sample spaces. Then we name it with the help of the suffix. So this is my suffix. Sx is one sample space and sy or something like that could be the other sample space. Okay. Now going ahead, what is a random variable then? Even here, even in this textbook, he has explained what is a random variable. So a random variable is nothing but, you can see here, it is a function that assigns a real number. It is a function that assigns a real number. That is what we are seeing here in the form of an equation. So what is a random variable? It is a function, you can see here, which is assigning to a real number. And from where it is assigning? From the sample space. So I hope so the meaning of random variable is clear. Tossing a coin. What is a random variable there? Heads and tails. These are our random variables. Okay. Yeah. So it is denoted by xa is equal to small xa. Okay. So the domain of the random variable is x. Okay. So inside this x, you may get an event called as a. And where is this a present? This a is present inside the sample space. Okay. So this is very important thing, friends. So whatever you can see in your this 2.1 equation, it is a single random variable. You can observe here there is only one random variable, xa. So this is called as a single random variable. When a random variable is there, and if it is only one random variable, then we call it as single random variable. Okay. So in short, in theoretical concepts, you remember that a random variable is nothing but tossing of a coin. Inside that tossing of a coin, if a head and tail, occurring of a head and tail is a random variable. And next, in terms of mathematical expressions, you remember that it is nothing but it is a okay and in terms of mathematical terms, it is nothing but you have a sample space. From that sample space, you have one variable. This variable will be mapped into real numbers. Okay. So this is what is your random variable. Now, please concentrate here, this diagram. Basically why we professors, especially this subject, why we are, I, Ravi sir, or any Niranjan sir, anybody, why we try to do it with the textbook is, when you learn the textbook, you should understand, like say, for example, if this paragraph, if you learn, you should understand what actually is there in this paragraph, or else it will be difficult for you to study for your V2 examination. That is the reason. Okay. Next, say for example, in order to understand this diagram, please concentrate. Say these all are the random variables x, and these have some outcomes a, b, and c. Okay. Now these outcomes a, b, and c are mapped into the corresponding x-axis. You can see here they are mapped into the corresponding x-axis. This x-axis is a real line. You can observe here there are two types of lines. One is imaginary line and another one is real line. Okay. So if I have a real line, that means it is it doesn't have complex things, like say for example xa plus yb. That thing will not be there. Okay. So all these random variables, all the outcomes, you can say a is an outcome, b is an outcome, c is an outcome, and when you map this outcome on your x-axis, it becomes x of a. When you map this b and c outcome on your x-axis, it becomes x of c. Okay. So therefore you can say that a random variable is, if you observe here this mapping, it is a one-to-one mapping. It is a one-to-one mapping. A is a outcome and you are mapped into a variable. But here if you observe what it is, there are two things, but you are mapped into only one variable. So therefore one very important thing is what now? It could be a many-to-one mapping. What are many then? What are many? This B and C, these are two outcomes, and this where we are mapped, this we are mapped into our x of B. Okay, so therefore it is possible to do many-to-one mapping also in your random variable. So that is what has been shown in this figure. And what is this S then? This S is nothing but the sample space. This S, whatever you can see totally, this is the sample space. Inside this sample space, there are events happening. What are the events happening? A, B, and C are the events happening. Then where to map them, if I want to measure them, if I want to look at them, those have to be in the form of the random variables. Then what we do, we map these events on the real line. When we map them on the real line, we get the random variables xa, xb, and so on. Okay. So what could be examples of random variables then? The best example which we electronics engineers would understand is, say for example, I am trying to communicate with you right now, and say some background noise is there. Some background noise is coming. That background noise is called as noise. I hope you are getting it. That background noise is called as noise. And is this noise easily measurable? Noise could be anything, anything apart from our normal communication. Say a horn is, if you listen a horn, that is a noise. If you listen music from somewhere outside, that is a noise. So noise is random. We cannot easily detect the noise. So therefore, one example of your random variable is noise in our communication channels. Okay. Another major thing is, like all of you might have seen your analog, I guess analog electronics. Yeah, in analog electronics, you might have seen a lab. You have seen a lab wherein you have used your transistors, right? So if you see your transistors, you might have observed there is some peculiar behavior. The transistors either go on increasing something like this, or they go on decreasing something like this. You plot your VI characteristics, right? So even those VI characteristics of some transistors, not all the transistors, and the switching speeds of some transistors is an example of random variables. That is an example of random variables. Okay. The best thing, or the best way you remember your random variables is nothing but it is the noise. Whatever the noise you can listen in any of the communication channel, that is nothing but your random variables. Okay. So any doubts? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay.
No,
so
sir.
I hope so random variables is clear. Moving ahead, the next very important thing is we should understand what is our CDF, cumulative distribution functions. Okay. So before understanding CDF, let us try to understand what is our probability mass function. Okay. So what is this PMF is nothing but, say for example, you have a discrete random variable, say X is a discrete random variable, and its range is a countable set. Then what is the range now? The question arises is, what is a range? A range is nothing but the set of outcomes. Like say, for example, you toss a coin. What could be the range there? It is 2. What are the two things, two outcomes you would get? Either you would get a head or you would get a tail. So what is the range there? There are 2 elements or 2 events happening. That is nothing but the range. Okay. So if I want a probability mass function, X should be a discrete random variable, and it should have a range which should be countable. Countable is it should not be infinite set. It should not be infinite set. So say for example, this is my R of X, then this becomes our range X1, X2, and X3. So whatever the possible values your X can take, that is nothing but your range. Okay. So what is actually this? What actually is this PMF is nothing but, it is nothing but all the set of values which your random variable can take. Like say, for example, here in this case, let X be a random variable and whose range is given by like this, that is Rx is equal to X1, X2, X3, which is a finite or countably finite. Forget about this countably finite. Just remember it should be finite. Then what is your PMF is nothing but it is the value when one of the variable will be taking the value of the random variable. Like say, for example, in order to understand this, take the example of tossing a coin, single coin. Say I toss a single coin, then my range is what now? It is head and tail. It takes 2 values, head and tail. Then the probability where our X will be equal to head, that is nothing but your probability mass function. Okay. The probability where our X will be equal to tail, that is nothing but your probability mass function. Okay. That means what value my capital X will take will be depending on this X of K. And what is K now? 1, 2, 3, and so on. In our case, we have only 2 things, X1 and X2. Why X1 and X2? X1 will be for head and X2 will be for tail. Okay. So let us get back to your CDF. So one simple thing with your CDF is always denoted by a capital letter. CDF is always denoted by a capital F, you can say capital F. Okay. And it is defined something like this. Please concentrate here. Here it is an event A, P is nothing but the probability of an event A conditioned on, the two colons tells us that conditioned on, and this x of A will occur in such a fashion that it should be always less than or equal to small x. That means whatever your XA will occur, it should be within this range. What is the range? The small x. Okay, so that means what now? If A is an event happening, like say for example, in our example, head. Let us say that head is occurring. So when a head is occurring, then the random variable x of A, that is nothing but x of head, it will be less than or equal to small x. That is what this whole statement means. That is, if you don't have this equation, I hope this PDF all of you have. Please note down 2.2 somewhere. It is very important. Using this 2.2, we will be trying to understand n number of things. Okay. So moving ahead, this fx of x could be for n number of different CDFs. Like if I have u variable, then it is written as fu of u. If I have z variable, then we can write fz of z for different random variables. Here random variable is what now? Capital X. In this case, our random variable will be what now? It could be z. It could be, in this case, it is v. Okay, and so on. Okay. So yeah, let us move ahead. So I hope you understood till here. This equation is clear. So your CDF is nothing but it depends totally on your x of A. This x of A must be always less than or equal to small x. What is this A? A is an event. Okay, so you remember this thing. You remember this equation. If you cannot remember, please note it down somewhere. Next, we'll try to study some of the properties of your random variables, that is CDF. Okay. Now, let us say we'll have this 2.2 somehow. Wait a second. So we'll have this 2.2 side here, so that if you want to see it, we can see it. Okay. So let us say that you have a random variable x is equal to infinity. Okay. So I have a random variable, say x is equal to infinity. Then what we do, we will go ahead and put here infinity. We'll go ahead and put here fx of this becomes infinity. Okay. Now, one thing always you remember, friends, that the probability, the maximum value what your probability can take is 1, and the minimum value what your probability can take is 0. That means whenever we calculate our probability, it has to be in the range of 0 to 1, in this range. Okay. So therefore, when my x becomes infinity, then what would happen with our P of S at the max? If it is infinity, say if my x is moving towards infinity, a higher value, then it cannot reach infinity. The maximum value which our x can take is what now? It is 1. The reason behind this is why? Because our probability has to be in between 0 and 1. This is the simple reason. Okay. So that's why you can see here that in this case, the P of S, that is the probability of the total sample space, will be equal to 1. So even though our independent variable has reached infinity, then also our probability, the maximum value it would take is 1, not more than 1. It will never go above 1. Forget about reaching infinity. Okay. Similarly, when our independent variable reaches minus infinity, what do you feel? What would happen here when it reaches minus infinity? Anybody?
It will be 0.
So what we have done here, we have replaced this with minus infinity. We have replaced this with minus infinity. Minus infinity means on a number line, it is the lowest value. We move this side, it is the lowest value, right? It is the lowest value. But can we reach this minus infinity? No. Why? Because our probability has to be in between 0 and 1. So therefore, the maximum value which your P of pi is nothing but the null set, it will take is 0. And the maximum value which your sample space can take is 1. So I hope this is clear. Even though our x is equal to infinity, it is P of s is equal to 1, even though x is equal to minus infinity, our null space, that is the lower value which your P of s would take is, it is 0. Okay. This is one thing. So from this, we deduce that our CDF. So friends, remember, this is our CDF, capital F. It has to be in the range of what now? 0 to 1. It will lie in the range of 0 to 1, not more than this. So how we have our P of S, that is sample space, maximum and minimum values are what now? The minimum value is 0 and the maximum value is 1. Similarly, your CDF, minimum value is 0 and maximum value is 1. Okay. Next, we'll move ahead and let us say we have now a pair of independent variables. So very important now, up till now, we had only one independent random variable, that is x. Now we have what now? We have two independent variables, x1 and x2. And how is the condition to relate them? x2 is always greater than x1. Okay, so it is like to say x2 is a bigger number and x1 is a smaller number. So whenever we want to subtract, we always subtract the bigger number from the smaller number. Okay, so that's why if I want to write for fx of x2, what I will be doing now? Fx of x2, very simple. Yeah, so I want fx of x2. That means what now? I have to replace this x by x2. That's all. We have to replace this x by x2. Okay, so that is what has been done here. So you can see here P of A conditioned on x of A, it has to be less than or equal to x2. Now, similarly, if I want to write it for x1, this x has to be replaced by what now? It has to be replaced by x1. And since we are subtracting a lower value with the minus value, that is what we are done here. That is x2. Here you can see a x2, and here you can see a x1. Okay, and how it should be? It should be always greater than or equal to 0. Then only it will be lying in our said range. What is the said range now? It is 0 to 1. It should be in between 0 to 1. Okay, now very important thing that we define from your 2.2. So 2.2 is this one. This is your 2.2. That very important thing here is all your CDFs are monotonically non-decreasing functions. Remember this. This is a very important statement. All your CDFs are monotone non-decreasing functions. That is, they go on increasing. They usually they never reduce. Okay. So if I want to do the another way or the another method of telling this is if I take a derivative of your CDF. So this is my CDF, and where we are taking the derivative. Whenever we take a derivative of CDF, it should be always greater than or equal to 0. It should be never a negative number. Okay, and this is one of the important properties of your CDF. That is, your differentiation of CDF will be always greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so if you observe this last equation here, please concentrate. It is nothing but the equation 2.2 only. It is nothing but it is this equation only. One small change what they have done is they have removed this condition. Whatever this conditional statement was there, that they are removed, and they are just written the plain statement. I hope you can observe. Okay, so we may use either this statement, or we may use this statement. Both are one and the same. There is no difference between the 2.2 and this equation. Both are same. That is 2.2 and 2.8. Both are same. Small change is what? This conditioned thing has been removed. That is, this A has been removed for simplification. For simplicity, they have removed this A as well as this A, and they have written it. Okay. So this is one thing. Yeah. So this is how your CDF will look. Please concentrate. These are the various plots of CDF. This is nothing but a continuous CDF. This is nothing but a continuous CDF. When you have a continuous random variable, this is how it would look. It was, you can please observe here, it is non-decreasing function. It is going on increasing. Please observe. It is going on increasing. Okay. So if it is a continuous random variable, and if it is discrete random variable, always remember it will be in the form of the steps. What is continuous and discrete? Anybody? What is continuous and discrete? Anybody? Any one of you, please? Is anybody listening to class?
Continuous is without breaking, and discrete is at the certain interval or at the certain point.
Okay. Any other answers?
So for continuous, it is described for all the values of the axis, but for discrete, it is described only for few of it.
Very good. So for continuous, you can say a continuous flowing, any liquid you can say, any liquid which continuously follows. Okay. There you can find the value for every instance. Let's say this is my 0. After 0, I have a 1. Okay. In between 0 and 1, say for example, I want to find the value for 0.5. Then also I can find. If I want to find the value for 1.2, then also I can find. If I want to find the value for 1.3567, then also I can find. That is nothing but your continuous random variable. It is continuous. Okay. When you speak of discrete, it takes or it jumps from one value to another value. Like say, for example, first it is at 0, then it will come at 1, then it will go at 2, then it will go at 3, 4, and so on. So it is in the form of zeros and ones, either a true 1 or a false 0. Okay. You cannot determine it for intermediate values for like 0.5, 1.5. We don't define it actually for 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. Okay. So that is nothing but your discrete. So if you have a CDF and if you have a continuous random variable, this is how it will look. It is a non-decreasing function. You can see it is a non-decreasing function. Okay. And yeah, if you have a discrete random variable, it will be in the form of the steps. And now what could be this one then? Anybody? What could be this one?
That
It
is mixture of
continuous
both,
as
sir.
well as,
Sir,
It
that
is
is
a-
mixture of
discrete.
both.
Very good.
Mixture of both, sir.
So it is a mixed random variable, or you can say it's a mixed CDF. You can observe here, part of it is continuous. Part of it is continuous from here to here. Next, it takes a break. It has broken here. Then again it starts. Then again it starts. So this type of variable. Yeah, Anil. So this type of random variable is called as a mixed random variable. That is what has been told here. So these are the various CDFs. If it is continuous, if it is discrete, and if it is mixed. So this is how they will look. Okay. So we'll move ahead. Any doubts still here, friends?
No,
Clear.
Anybody else? Any doubts? Anything which are not understood, please ask. Okay. Okay. Shall I move ahead then? Shall I move ahead?
yeah, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see, always remember in our whole first module, we have two concepts very important. One is CDF and another one is PDF. Okay. So what is PDF then? The PDF is nothing but it is a probability density function. Let us not more dig up into the definition of this PDF. We have already seen it in the regular classes. You just remember here that the PDF is given by small f and it is the differentiation of CDF. Here, friends, how your PDF and CDF related? Capital F is CDF, small f is your PDF. And how they are related? When you differentiate your CDF, you will get the PDF. Like in exam, they may tell you, find the PDF of a given function. Find the PDF of a given function. If they ask something like that, what will be giving? They would be giving you a CDF. If they give you a CDF, you just differentiate your CDF with respect to the given variable. Here the given variable is X. Then you will get the PDF. Okay. Now let us say you have been given a, I want an inverse of your this thing. What I should do? Anybody? I want an inverse of this thing. I want to find the inverse of 2.9. How can we do it?
Integration of that, sir. Integration.
Integrated itself.
Yeah, that's all. What we'll be doing is we'll be integrating this fx of x, okay? And so if I want the inverse of this, just I will put the integration sign here. Just I will put the integration sign here. This d by dx and this integration is cancelled. And what you would get? You would get here only fx of x. Here you would get only fx of x. What is this capital F, friends? Anybody?
CDF, sir.
Sir, that is CDF.
So you have a CDF, and this small x f of x is what now?
PDF.
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 So that means, say for example, if you have been given a PDF, and they tell you to find the CDF, what you will do?
We will integrate, sir.
Integrated, sir.
Very good. We will be integrating. Okay. And say you have been given a CDF and you want to find a PDF, what do you do?
Differentiated.
Differentiation.
Differentiate.
Okay. So keep this in mind. So this is what your 2.9 is. Please make a note of 2.9. Please make a note of 2.10 as well. This is nothing but you have it is the inverse of 2.9. It is inverse of 2.9. Okay. So is this clear?
Yeah, sir, it's clear.
Yeah. Now we'll try to see some properties of your continuous random variables. Okay. So we'll try to see some properties of your continuous random variables. Like say, for example, the first property is, let us combine your equation 2.7 and 2.9. I hope you have those 2.7 and 2.9 with you. Yeah. So this is your 2.7 and 2.9. 1 second, friends. There is. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 1 second. There is some error. Yeah. Give me a second. This is 2.6. So we want 2.7 and 2.9. Yeah, they are here. So if you have them, it would be nice. Our time would have been saved anyways. Yeah. So this is your 2.7 and 2.9. Yeah. So what he is telling here, we will be combining your 2.7 and 2.9. Okay. So when you combine your 2.7, what is your 2.7? It is nothing but you have a CDF. You have a CDF. You can observe here. Please look at the cursor. You have a CDF. When you differentiate that CDF, it should be greater than or equal to 0. Okay. And what is 2.9? Please observe. You have a PDF. You have a PDF, and you will sorry, you have a CDF itself. You differentiate your CDF, then that is nothing but your what now? PDF. That is what this 2.9 is telling. I'll repeat once again. You have a CDF. When you differentiate that CDF, it should be greater than or equal to 0. The meaning of this is what, friends? When it is greater than or equal to 0, it is a monotone non-decreasing function. When you differentiate and when you get the value greater than or equal to 0, it is a monotone non-decreasing function. And the next thing is, here what we are doing, here we are nothing but we are finding your PDF. Small f is PDF. Now, when you combine these two, what you will be getting is, you will be getting your PDF will be always greater than or equal to 0. Your PDF will be always greater than or equal to 0. Okay, when you combine these two equations, it means that, see, since this is greater than or equal to 0, the right hand side is greater than or equal to 0. So therefore, this also becomes greater than or equal to 0. That is what he is trying to tell you. The first one. Okay. Next, when x is equal to minus infinity and the value of your CDF is what? Anybody? When x is minus infinity, what is the value of your CDF?
0.
0, sir.
0. We
Zero,
have
sir.
seen it. We have seen it today itself. When x is plus infinity, what is that? It can take a maximum value of 1. That is what has been shown here. When x is equal to plus infinity, the maximum value it can take is 1. Okay. That means always remember, friends, another very important thing. The area under the curve of your PDF will be always equal to 1. What it is? The area under the curve of your PDF will be always equal to 1. See here, the area under the PDF curve will be always equal to 1. So these two functions you remember. One is CDF is a non-decreasing function. CDF is a non-decreasing function, and PDF area, that is the area under the PDF curve, will be always equal to 1. This thing you remember. Okay. Now we'll move to the next property, that is using 2.6 and 2.10. So say, yeah, here we have 2.6 and 2.10. Okay. So please observe here, friends. What is 2.6? This equation you already seen. I hope this equation you already seen 2.6. Okay. So please observe. This is nothing but you have two variables. You have two variables. One is x2 and another one is x1. And when you want to find its CDF, this is what is the definition of CDF. Just now we have seen in today's class only. Okay. And what is 2.10? It is the inverse function. Just 2 minutes back we have seen it is the inverse function. And when you combine these two, when I combine this 2.6 and 2.10, that is when I take it to the when we use this x2 and x1, this is what your equation would be looking like. That is, we'll be replacing this minus infinity with the lower value, which is x1, and this x with the higher value, which is x2. And what we have assumed, friends, we have assumed that x1 is less than x2. Therefore, x1 would be what now? Lower limit. X2 is what now? It is greater than x1. Therefore, it will be what now? Upper limit. Simple thing. Okay. And inside this function, what we have? We have your PDF. We have joined your 2.6 and 2.10. You can see here. Inside this integration, what we have here in 2.10, we have the PDF. Therefore, in 2.13 also, you have got the PDF. Is that clear, friends? Okay. Next, say for example, we slightly increase your x. Say for example, now who is joining? Say for example, we slightly increase your x, that we had a x and we increase it by a small amount, say del of x. In that case, what will be our lower value? Lower value is x. So you can see here, the lower value is x. What will be our higher value? It is x plus delta x. And inside the integration sign, what we have seen just now here. It is fx of x dx. Here it is fx of u du. Why u du? Because the variable we have chosen here is u. The variable we have chosen here is what? X. The variable we have chosen here is x, and the variable which you have chosen here is u. That is the difference. Okay. And this is approximately equal to nothing but the same function fx of x multiplied by d of x. Okay. When you integrate this, this is the answer you will be getting. Fine. Finally, the last one, using 2.10, what we'll do is we will move this del. Sorry. Okay, we'll move this del x towards 0. We'll move this del x towards 0. When we move this del x towards 0, this whole equation, whatever your 2.14 we have, 2.14 we have this equation. See here, friends, please observe the limits. We have removed this del x here from here. Why? Because that we are taken as 0. That we are taken as 0. So that means when you remove the del x and when you integrate, see, both upper limit and lower limit both are same. So when you integrate with the upper limit and lower limit both same, the answer you will be getting is 0. Okay, so this is one more important relation. And finally, this one, please observe here, fx of x is equal to probability of x less than or equal to x. So this is very simple, friends. They are just splitted this sign. They are just splitted this sign. What is the sign here we have? We have x less than or equal to small x. What is less than? Less than they are taken as one term, and equal to they are taken as another term. Okay, that's all. Okay, so let us try to solve your first example, that is example 2.1. I have solved it. 1 second, I'll just open that example. So yeah, we have our example 2.1. So you will be getting such similar type of examples only, whatever you are seeing right now. So we'll just try to understand how this example has been solved. We'll just try to see it. So see here, friends, what they have given here. What is small f? Anybody? What is small f which they are given? PDF or CDF?
PDF.
PDF, sir.
So they have given us PDF, and you can observe here in the next step what they have found out.
CDF.
CDF. So in the exam also we will be getting the
CDF.
Yeah, very good. So in the exam also you'll be getting the same type of questions wherein they will give you your PDF. They will give you your PDF. You need to find its what? CDF. This is one type of example. A PDF is given, you will be getting the CDF. The other type of example is reverse. That is nothing but they will give you the PDF. You need to find the CDF. Okay. So let us try to solve this example. Please concentrate. If it's possible, you can note down the steps as well. So this has been given fy of y is equal to 1 divided by y2 minus y1. Very important thing what they are given here is your y2 is greater than y1. See, this we have already seen in our properties as well. If you remember, here we have also seen this. Instead of y2 and y1, we have our here what now? X2 and x1. Same condition is there, that x2 is what now? Greater than x1. Here also we have the same condition, that is y2 is what now? Greater than y1. Yes. Okay. So only small thing what we need to do now, we need to integrate this term in between these limits. Okay. So that is what we will be doing now. So please concentrate here. This has been given. This has been given. So this is the what has been given. This is what has been given in the problem. Okay. So, and you already know the formula. So this is the formula which you have, that is fy of y is equal to minus infinity to y with respect to small fy. Okay. So please see this number line, friends. Whatever the number line you have here, please observe here this number line. So this is minus infinity. The lowest value which we have from the equation is minus infinity, and if you see our range, it is what now? Y1 to y2. So the first lower range we have is y1. Please observe the mouse. The next upper range we have is what now? Y2. And where is our y? It is this y is in between y1 and y2. Am I clear with this? The lower range we have is y1. The upper range we have is y2. And in between y1 and y2, we have our variable y. And according to formula, what we have? It is minus infinity, that is here, to y, that is here. Okay. So please let us split this integration now. Whatever one integration we have here, we'll split that integration. Okay. We'll split this integration into two things. First thing is what now? From here to here, from y1 to y. So you can observe here, the first integration is from y1 to y. The next integration is what now? From y to y2. So next integration is from y to y2. Yes, the term remains the same. You can see here the term is remaining the same, right? Okay. So the term has remained the same, and we have just changed the limits. Now let us try to integrate it. Okay. So we'll integrate this now. Please concentrate, friends, again. So the first thing we have is we will remove this. We'll substitute in the place of this fy of y. What is fy of y? Fy of y has been given. See here. this has been given. We'll just substitute this. So that is nothing but 1 divided by y2 minus y1. Since it is a constant, we'll remove it outside. We have removed it outside the integration sign, and we are just integrating with respect to dy. Okay. Hello. Yeah. Priya, any doubts? Okay. So we are just integrating with respect to dy. So that means what we have here, friends, we have here just 1. We have here just 1. So we are integrating 1 with respect to dy. Similarly here as well. Similarly here as well. Okay. We have substituted fy. Fy is the same thing which we have here. And the limits have changed. What are the limits? Limits we have already changed using this, which is y2, y2. Again, here we have only 1 dy. Okay. So when you integrate this, what will you be getting? You will be getting y, and putting the upper limit y. You can see here the upper limit we have is y, and putting the lower limit you have y1. Similarly here you have y2. The upper limit is y2. You can observe here the upper limit is y2. See here. Okay. And the lower limit we have is y. The lower limit we have is y. Okay. So later, after removing this step, after cancelling this step, the final answer you will be getting is this one. That is y minus y1 divided by y2 minus y1. Okay. So you can observe here the answer we are getting is y minus y1 divided by y2 minus y1. Okay. So this is in the range where now this integration, whatever we have done, whatever the integration we have done here, this is in the range of what now? It is in the range of y1 to y2. So that is what we have done here. So it is in the range of y1 to y2. Okay. For rest of the things, what it is a constant. For rest of the things, y2 to infinity, it is a constant. We don't know what is there. So therefore, we have taken it as constant. Okay. Similarly, for the lower limit, it is 0. He has given here. Okay. So this is how you will be doing it, friends. So, and when you plot it, very interesting, please concentrate here. This is how it will look. It is a triangle shape, whatever the this thing you have, PDF you have, whatever the PDF you have, it's very simple. The height is y2 minus y1. Yes. The upper value is y2. The lower value is y1. And the area under this curve is 1. Remember this thing, friends. The area under the curve will be always equal to 1. Okay. So this is very important. Next, when I want to plot the CDF, you please observe this equation. Okay. So seeing this equation, we'll try to plot it now. Yeah. So say this is my drawing, that graph. Okay. So please observe the graph, friends. For minus infinity to y1, you can see here from minus infinity to y1, it is 0. So it is 0. Okay. And from y1 to y2, this is nothing but whatever you can see here. This is nothing but it is the equation of the ramp. It is the equation of the straight line. So therefore, you can see here we have plotted a straight line. Okay. Next, from y2 to infinity, you can observe the value is constant. It is neither decreasing nor increasing. So therefore, we have put here constant. It is 1. Okay. So that is what your drawing looks like. So is your 2.1 clear, friends? Any doubts? Please let me know. Any doubts?
No, sir.
We will be sharing this. Okay. We will be sharing that solved thing, whatever it was solved here. We'll be sharing this thing. Okay. And please let me know if you have any doubts on this 2.1.
No, sir, no doubt.
Okay. From any other divisions like A division or C division, any other doubts?
No doubt, sir.
Yeah,
No,
Pooja, I
sir.
understood. Yes. Anybody else I'm asking? Okay,
No, sir, no doubts.
fine. So maybe, yeah, we'll solve one more this thing, or we shall stop here.
Sir, please stop. Continue for the next.
Okay, fine.
Enough, sir, please.
So much boring it was.
No, sir, not like boring,
Sounds
but
like
everything
theory now, sir.
together.
Okay,
But
if
we
you
have the classes from morning only, sir. That's why bored, tired.
okay, so if you have any doubts, you can come to us. You can come to us anytime. We'll help you out. We'll help you out, and let us know if you have any problem anywhere. We will help you out. We are always there for you. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for attending.